I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and what you're looking at is a very frustrating package to open, but by the end of this video, you'll see what's inside. Stay tuned, the Retro Hunting Adventures start now.
Yo, this is MegaRan, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
We're starting out this week's Retro Hunting episode with what I like to call a Barcade. Some of them are actually named Beercade, but this one is called Operating Room. And as you can see, it's very appropriately decorated for the Halloween season. This particular location was in Ankeny, Iowa, but there are multiple operating rooms. I'm not actually sure how many. I sound like Mario there. I'm not actually sure. But I thought I would walk around this arcade and show you some of the games, including this head-to-head Mario Kart DX Arcade GP and what they bill as the world's largest Pac-Man. I somehow think that's probably not the case, but it was impressively large and built for head-to-head playing. Here you can see the bar inside the operating room. They were showing all kinds of college sports and mixed martial arts, and a marquee along the top showing classic Space Invaders characters. And as you can see as we continue around the room, there is a Pong machine, a physical paddle version of the old arcade game. There are actual full-sized paddles inside this Pong table. Now I have to apologize for muting the sound, but they were playing pop music inside of the arcade, so I had to dub in my own music, but I still thought you would appreciate getting to see the layout of this arcade and all the different attractions they had to offer. They've also got the usual assortment of multiplayer games you can find at any Dave & Buster's, such as this 4-player Pac-Man tabletop game with drink holders and ticket prize games, as well as quite an impressive row of pinball machines. I think the last time I saw this many pinball games, I was actually inside of a beercade. I was, of course, looking for all-time favorite tables like the Addams Family and Pinbot, but I'm not saying that the ones they didn't have weren't plenty interesting. Unfortunately, the operating room, like Dave & Buster's, operates on a membership card that you load credit to and then swipe or tap. So this particular occasion that we went to the operating room, I didn't have my own card, and our friends John and Judy took us there to give us a tour of the place. So John was the one using his card and his credits, so I just kind of watched him play most of the time. Although if I'd had my own card, I probably would have played this Deadpool pinball game. That one certainly caught my eye for more than a minute. I did end up playing one. Somebody had a credit in The Wizard of Oz and actually just walked away from it and didn't play it. And I looked around for a while, and I asked John, I was like, hey, did you play this? Is this your credit? He's like, nope. Somebody must have just gotten a matching number on the bonus wheel and then just didn't realize they had one to play. So I ended up getting a free play on The Wizard of Oz, and it's a pretty good table if you ask me. Here the whole group of us are getting together to play a game of Family Guy bowling. It's actually a trackball game where you use the trackball to choose where your bowler stands and then roll it again to determine how hard you want to throw it and in what direction. A pretty good use, if I say so myself. I like all the different arcade marquees they've got above it. I saw a Dig Dug one up there. I like the fact that it also has a scrolling electronic display that goes all the way around the building. If you watch it for long enough, you'll see like Galaga space shooters and Donkey Kong, Mario, and the hammer. You'll see the mushrooms being collected and Goobas being stomped on. I selected Brian from Family Guy as my bowler's character personification, so everybody else was picking theirs. As you can see, it has all the characters most familiar to viewers of the program. Somebody also put like genetics on the walls back there. There's a lot of graffiti, and somebody was like doing mitochondrial DNA and curvature of the human spine and fermentation of alcohol and all sorts of things. Now you can see Frogger on the electronic scroll up there. This place was really funky. I have to say, if they had an operating room location closer to where I lived, I probably would have a membership and go there, but just have to settle for going to Dave & Buster's and maybe hope that some of the games that I saw here that our Dave & Buster's doesn't have might actually work their way into that arcade at some point. You just never know what's going to show up when or where. So it's my turn to bowl here. Let's see if I can rack up any kind of good combination, having never played this game before. It's going to be dumb luck here. I roll it, and I got 9, which isn't bad if I can pick up the spare. Would have preferred a strike, but 9 out of 10 is a decent enough start. Here we go again. I roll it, and I got it. I picked up the spare, so that's going to do it for the operating room. Let's move on to my recent pickups. We'll start out this section of the Retro Hunting Adventure with a few things that I picked up on my last trip to pop culture, starting with this manual for NFL Blitz 2000 on the Nintendo 64. This is actually one of the 20 or so N64 games that I don't have, but I kind of figured $2 for a manual, I might as well pick it up now. That way, if I find the game or the game in the box later and it doesn't have the manual in it, then I've already got the manual. And if it does have the manual, then it'll probably be a better condition one than the one I have. Either way, it's a start. Sylphied was a game I played on Apple IIgs in my high school days. I realized the Sega CD version is quite different, but it is also from the same lineage and a successor to the previous one. And this was 20% off because they were having a sale the day that I was there. So it was kind of one of those I just can't resist kind of situations where I was just really happy to see a familiar game with a familiar name and figured I would give it a spin on my Sega CD when I got home. The condition was also pretty hard to beat too, because so many Sega CD games have broken cases or missing hinges. This one had everything except the foam insert. But speaking of the foam insert, let me show you the condition of this disc first, and then I'll show you the other Sega CD game that I picked up, because that one, even though the case was not as in good of shape as the one for Sylphied, it actually did have the foam insert, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Iron Helix. You can see there's a crack in the front case, but I can live with that because both of the hinges are intact, and those are decidedly more fragile than the clamshell on the front and back. As you can see here, this one is cracked pretty bad on the back, but I think I can squeeze that together and secure it with a little bit of masking tape. So what's more important is that the disc will end up being a working game. My cat is freaking out for some reason. I wish he would calm down. I don't know what the heck he's doing here. Tango, stop that. Okay, he's gone. He's probably just mad that my wife wouldn't give him any chicken. She's making shake and bake right now. So yes, Iron Helix is another game that I'll be testing out in the near future, but that disc looked like it was pretty good quality, and like I said, the foam insert was a pleasant surprise. This was on sale at Walmart, and yes, I know these things are just absolute not up to the standard of like console game, let alone arcade originals, but it was at such a reduced price that I was like, not a heck with it. It's Pac-Man, and it's like a third of what the regular manufacturer suggested retail price was. So if they're trying to clearance it out, I'll try it out. I'll buy one. I'll see what it's worth. I'll give a review of it later on, but I figured for just a few bucks I couldn't pass that up because I am a Pac-Man fan. And coincidentally enough, these Pac-Man tin signs were also being clearanced. And these were only a couple bucks each. I really dig these. They're going to look great somewhere in the game room. This one looks like the side of an actual Pac-Man arcade cab, and I just couldn't pass that up. Speaking of things I found in clearance bins at Walmart, we move on to a couple of Pez dispensers. And if you know me, you know I'm not a Pez dispenser kind of guy, so there has to be some sort of gimmick here, and of course, it's Mega Man. Now, I previously got one of these from Entertainment Earth. I want to say that was the store I got it from. But since these were both on clearance, I figured why not? That way I can keep one in the package and open one up. And I got both the Mega Man one and the Magnet Missile one because they were both marked down to $2. This was a really good run for Walmart to get those cheap Pac-Man tin signs and these cheap Mega Man Pez dispensers and that clearance priced plug and play, I guess you would call it, even though they don't plug in anymore. Now they use a wireless dongle. I was pretty happy with that. Now I'll show you what was inside that package. This was easily one of the most frustrating packages I've tried to open in a while because every time I would try to tear off the seal, it would just tear off a piece of the seal and not actually tear the package open. I pretty much had to manhandle this and rip it fully apart to actually get it out of here, but as you can see, it was worth the wait because we have Kirby! Yes, there were actually a few Kirby games left that I didn't have, and this was one of them, so the time was right, and the price was right too, because I got a very late snipe bid on this one, so it was very affordable compared to what it's usually listed for, so maybe my purchase actually drove the average down, but then again, I'm sure that so many of these are sold that it probably doesn't make a damn bit of difference what one person's bargain does, but since it's complete with instructions, and the disc is in good shape, at least to my eye, I feel like this was well worth it. So, without further ado, I'm going to give it a test, and that's where we will close the video this week.